Hi there, it's Mark Wickersham here, and I have a really special video for you coming up. I had on one of my sessions an extraordinary accountant in practice. His name's David Pankiewich. And in this video, you're going to hear a live webinar where he walks through step by step all the systems and processes he has for how he generates sales leads, how he gets potential clients, the processes he goes through to pre-qualify them, the process for how he has the meeting, the process for how he gives a value-based fixed price in that meeting, the process he then takes them through on the onboarding. He's going to share with you start to finish. He's going to show you what he does. He's also going to share with you 3 powerful pieces of software and how he uses them together in a really clever way to just streamline everything and get extraordinary results. And if you find this video valuable, please do click the like button. Please feel free to share it and please subscribe to my channel. Anyway, let's go and hear what David has to say. David Pankiewich is a member of the Value Pricing Academy. I've been working with David for a little while now. He's one of my star students. One of the things that David is amazing at, and you will get a real sense of this, is I talk a lot about there's 2 types of people that come to sessions like this. There's the note takers, the people that sit and take notes, and that's a great thing to do. But you're never going to change anything unless you move into the camp of being an action taker, that you listen, but then go and do something. And I'm going to suggest to you, I'm going to ask the question, first of all, are you a note taker or an action taker? If you're an action taker, I want you to make sure by the end of the session, you make a commitment to doing something. I don't mind what that thing is, but take an action. And one of the things about David is he is an action taker very clearly, because he's been systematically over the last year been implementing what he's been learning in the Value Pricing Academy. So I can't wait to see how he's been implementing it, the results he's getting, and so on. And I know he's going to cover a huge amount of stuff about how he's built up his systems in his accounting firm. So with that said, let me see if David is here. Well, I know he is here because we did a sound check a little while earlier. So David, if you're there, do you want to stick your webcam on? And let's hope that you're not on mute. You okay?
We're ready to go?
You are ready to go. Okay, so are you all good?
We are.
Shall I leave you to it? Right.
Okay.
Just shout if you want any help. I will be in the background supporting you, and just ask when you want me to deal with questions, David. Over to you.
Okay, thank you very much, Mark. First of all, I'd like to thank Mark for the opportunity to share some of the things that have been working in our firm. And of course, we're grateful for all the instruction we've received from Mark. It's been over a year now that we've been part of the Value Pricing Academy. And as Mark mentioned, we're going to show you some of the things that we have found working, what we've been able to implement with the time that we've had from the excellent instruction that we've received month after month in the Value Pricing Academy. Just before we start the slides, I wanted to mention a couple things. One is, when it comes to marketing and our pricing system, 2 things we've tried to use as our mottos is, it's all about them. So with the tools that you'll see we've set up, we're always trying to make our marketing about the prospect, about the client, the ideal client, not about advertising what we're good at, but what are the needs, wants, desires, obstacles, challenges of our ideal client. So with everything, we're always trying to, at our firm, think about how can we make it about them? And the second thing that we try to use as a motto is to systemize everything. And there's a lot involved in that word, everything. And you'll see some of the things we've done. It's a journey. There's more things we'd like to do, but we have been able to put in several things, and we hope that you'll benefit from what we're going to share. 2 books that we have found very helpful in our journey is a book called They Ask, You Answer by Marcus Sheridan. If you haven't read it, I suggest you do. Make sticky notes as to points you want to implement as you're reading through the book, and then start taking action with your own firm. So this has been an excellent book. A second book that we found helpful is Building a Story Brand from Donald Miller. Excellent as far as how you help a client take them through a journey. So a couple of publications that you can benefit from after our webinar. So let's start. Let's start talking about this complete marketing and pricing system and how we can use it to win more clients at higher prices. So a little bit about us briefly. I'm a sole practitioner in Canada. We have a few members working with us. We have a couple locations in Ontario. We're a lean firm, but in Ontario, we have a couple of brick and mortar locations. And then we also, what we're doing right now is we're working across Canada, connecting with independent professional bookkeepers that would like to form a strategic partnership. So from coast to coast, we're working with independent professional bookkeepers to provide a seamless experience for clients, the accounting, the bookkeeping, the virtual CFO, all together, working with independent professional bookkeepers across Canada. So we'll talk a little bit more at the end as to some opportunities you can consider, but that's a brief explanation about our firm. And we're right near the Toronto location where we have the CN Tower and some other skyline highlights. So that's a little bit about our background. And let's get into our webinar. So our webinar is going to be in two main pieces. We're going to talk about the marketing system. You can see on the slide the 5 main pieces that we have in our marketing system. And then once you're ready to have your first meeting with a client, we move over to our pricing system. Some call it a sales system, the pricing system. And we're going to walk you through the excellent tool Mark has with his brochure and effective pricing software. And then 2 other tools that we have found very helpful, Practice Ignition and Karbon. And you'll see some other soft tools along the way. But we call these the big 3, effective pricing, Practice Ignition, and Karbon. You have these 3 together, and we think you have a powerhouse system for your firm. So that's our overall agenda. And we hope you enjoy some of the thoughts we're going to share. So let's dive into our marketing system. What are the pieces? How do you start this? So being part of the Value Pricing Academy, we've benefited over the last year and a bit. Mark instituted every month Marketing Mondays. And that really helped us because often one of the challenges is, where do you start? So many pieces. So Mark walks us through systematically the different pieces of a marketing system. So there are 5 main pieces to the marketing system that we have in place: setting your strategy, how you drive traffic to then have prospects enter your lead generation system. Once they're in your lead generation system, how do you onboard them? How do you get them to wanting to have a meeting, which is where the appointment generation system comes in. And Mark and Emily and Sarah from the Value Pricing Academy have helped us with several of these pieces that you're going to see us presenting to you today. So let's look at the first piece, strategy. You can see the journey there through the path. What's involved in strategy? You can see there's goals, milestones. You need to have a target. Now, why are you having your marketing system in the first place? What are you hoping to achieve? How is it going to help you grow your firm? How big do you want to grow your firm? You need to have some metrics, some goals as to how you're going to get there. So that's important. Deciding on your ideal client, understanding what they want, and then positioning yourself as an expert. So you'll see in our next slide, that there are important questions to think about when it comes to identifying your ideal client. So who is your ideal client? There's lots of clients out there. What clients would be a good fit for your firm? What are your strengths? What are you good at? What do you enjoy doing? So we sat down as a firm using a workbook that Mark provides in the Value Pricing Academy, and we did some soul searching. Who really is our ideal client? Size, industry, type of service. And it took a little while to filter that. And we determined what our ideal client was, some services we'd like to offer to that particular ideal client. We thought of what do they want, what are their needs, what are their struggles. And then once we identified that, then we had to think, how are we going to deliver it? So that's where systemize everything comes into play. To be effective, to be profitable, to be consistent in the standards and qualities of our service. And of course, it's important then, if we're going to make it all about them, to understand the them. What do they want? And then we looked at ways that we could position ourselves as an expert. So that's the first of these 5 pieces of the marketing system that we started to put into place. After that, once we had our strategy, once we knew who our target audience was, once we knew their needs and how we wanted to help them, then it was a matter of doing the next step that Mark teaches, which is building your marketing plan. And Mark walked us through several of the different ways we could market, where we could implement that strategy. And so we thought about them at our firm. And you can see in green the different ways that we implemented the suggestions that are there in black. So for example, when it came to advertising or pay-per-click, we developed having some Facebook ads. And we use Facebook ads principally to advertise our webinar and also the ebook that we've developed that you'll see in a minute. We've developed some webinars on topics once a month that we think would help clients or prospects. You'll see our website. We set up YouTube to do some video marketing. As it mentions here, we'll also use MailChimp to do email marketing to let prospects who are in our contact list know about our webinars. And then with social media, we know there's so many channels to pick from. The ones you see listed there are the ones that we have focused on. And we're new at this. We used to always do our marketing through word of mouth and organic. But as we've learned, that's not a dependable, consistent way to build leads. So we've been entering the social media area, developing the channels, developing our content. And again, as we talked about with strategy, it's important to have metrics. So what is the goal we're hoping to accomplish with this marketing plan? What type of resources? So that's what we did with our firm in building a marketing plan. So now, the next step after strategy, which we've just discussed, is to now drive traffic. And you can see there's different ways of driving traffic through your marketing strategy and marketing plan. There's website, social media, paid content, paid traffic, as we've talked about, and content marketing. So what are some of the tools? What are some of the resources that we've tried to adopt? So let's take a look at some of these. So Mark has one of his Marketing Mondays entitled Creating a Brilliant Website. We're on that journey to get there, but we've tried to implement several of the suggestions that Mark presents. So we've tried to make it all about them. So you'll notice here's a couple of examples of parts of our homepage. On our homepage, we have very prominently below the logo and branding of our firm, advertising our ebook, presenting ourselves as an expert. This particular ebook deals with 5 ways to grow a business successfully without any complicated marketing, 5 key steps. And Mark, we'll see a little bit later how this ebook got developed, but that's how we try to position ourselves as an expert with our website. We also have webinars. You can see the slide there, where we invite individuals to sign up for monthly webinars, positioning ourselves as a knowledge expert, someone who has the expertise that can help small business owners with their needs and challenges. So that's how we've tried to use our website to position ourselves as an authority, as an expert. We also have used our website to capture leads. The idea being that a prospect will come across our website and get captured with their attention with this ebook that we have that will provide them with some solutions to their challenges, and they'll be invited to download this ebook. And Emily from Mark's team helped us develop what you're seeing here on this page of this website. We also, by means of our website, tried to create some differentiation. What makes us different from every other accounting firm? So we tried to create a bit of a vision for small business owners. So we say, imagine as a busy small business owner, these 3 scenarios that we have found small business owners having challenges with. Having all their business information at a click of a button. Having the accountant as your business advisor on speed dial. That's a new service that we're starting to promote heavily. And then because of the expertise that we have in our firm, we're able to help the business owner to where they're starting to create profits and accumulating profits. How are they going to invest those profits? How are they going to secure them for the next generation? So we also position ourselves as a financial quarterback. How are they going to preserve their wealth in their business, that nest egg, for their family, for their retirement, for the next generation? So these are ways that we're attempting on our homepage to capture the attention of a prospect, that we're not just like every other accounting firm or independent professional bookkeeper. We have some unique strengths that can assist them. Something else that we developed, something we were encouraged to have, is a cornerstone content. So we developed what we call a transformation map. Our homepage, the tagline on our homepage is transform your business, transform your life. Helping business owners see that when they make the changes in their business, they'll have the type of life that they've always imagined. And so to make this transformation happen, we came up with a piece of cornerstone content that we call the transformation map. And what that does is it helps the client see the different milestones on this journey. And you can see systems is a big one. And then Mark teaches price consulting. So we have that as a milestone as well. Business advisory is in the advice icon. With the Marketing Mondays, something that we have found very valuable for Mark's program is Mark always talks about duality, taking what we're learning and then positioning it to help other small business owners, since we're small business owners ourselves. So we also have developed a way of helping small business owners with their marketing. Accounting services deals with the traditional accounting, but also year-end business advisory session that complements the compliance work. Then because of our specialties, we're able to help them with some wealth planning as an independent financial planner. And then we also have some expertise in the estate area. So we're able to help them with succession planning and estate planning. Are their wills in place? Is their business going to be passed on to their next generation? So the idea behind this transformation map is to help a business owner to determine where are they on this journey, what's working, what's not, and a particular space or place in this transformation map that they can connect with us and ask us how we can help them. So we're trying to create some differentiation in the marketplace by that cornerstone content. Something else Mark teaches about having a brilliant website is to have various ways that a prospect can connect. So here you can see 5 different ways that we're trying to use our website to connect with a prospect. Mark suggests a brilliant tool called Calendly. So we use that on our homepage for a free discovery call. The ebook we've highlighted already. The webinars we've mentioned, we have a registration page right on our homepage. We have blogs, and we have some videos, vlogs that we're starting to create once a month. And so these are 5 different ways that we're trying to use our website to connect with our ideal prospect or client. And finally, with a website, Mark suggests making sure it can work on devices of all types. So with our web designer, we ensure that whether it's on a desktop, a tablet, a mobile phone, the user experience works. It's simple, easy to navigate, has a consistent layout. And so we've worked with someone that you'll hear about a little bit called Jordan Duda on our team that helped us build our website. And you'll hear about him a little bit later in our program. And with all of this, it's important to write great copy that will be read. So what type of content do you have on your website? Are the words catching the interest of your prospect? So through the Marketing Mondays that Mark teaches, he had a session on the 7 golden rules of great copy. And we're working our way through that, trying to ensure that the quality of our copy will arouse the attention of our ideal prospect. And then as part of driving traffic, social media. So here's an example of a social media post that we developed, and we posted it on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube, our website, blog. We came up with these 3 to 5 minute videos on topics that we thought were important. This one talks briefly about a business plan and how it can be done economically, straightforwardly, so that it's a helpful, practical guide for a business owner. So we just used our devices. Mark talks about the technology you can use. You can also use your mobile phone. And with some thinking, some planning of content, you can speak extemporaneously into the camera of your phone. And with the help of others that know this technology even better, they're able to then post it on all these channels for us. We use Facebook ads for our ebook, as we mentioned. And we've just started creating a Facebook group so that prospects that download our ebook can join a community, a tribe, a place for like-minded business owners where they can share ideas and where we can also share ideas as well. And as we mentioned, we do some speaking with our monthly webinars. We try to come up with topics that we think will capture the interest of small business owners. Is there a particular challenge that we're finding come up time and again with small business owners? So we started these webinars in January of this year. We had one on systems. We had one on business advisory last month. This month, we're going to deal with incorporations and how it can help you grow your business fast here in Canada with the tax laws of incorporation and so on. So maybe this would be a good place, Mark, to ask for some brief questions.
Sure, yeah, just let me unmute myself. You nearly caught me out there. So we only got a couple of questions. The first one from Diane Bennett was just want you to recap on what were the names of those two book titles you mentioned right at the start, the titles and the authors, and then if I get Sarah to type in the chat box.
So the first book was They Ask, You Answer by Marcus Sheridan. And the second book was Building a Story Brand by Donald Miller. Two fantastic books that give you a nice framework for your marketing content.
Awesome, thank you. And the other question, oh, I might have two questions now. So the other question I'm going to start with, if it's okay, because it's from Carl Locker, who I know very well from the UK. And the answer to the question might depend. Carl, I'm not sure if you're still in the Value Pricing Academy. I know we've worked together and you are an action taker doing great stuff. So Carl said, thanks so much, David, for your help here. How long does it take to implement this? Can you give us a range of costs along the way? So my answer, Carl, is if you are in the Value Pricing Academy, then we teach this every Monday, once a month on Marketing Mondays. And if you want it implementing, then Emily can do a lot of the work with you as well. So that's something we can talk about if you're in the Value Pricing Academy. I just can't remember, Carl, if you're still with us or not. But I'm going to throw that to you as well, David, as to, from your point of view, how long did it take you to implement?
It's been about 8 months from when we started to really tighten up our website, get our ebooks, develop the strategy with Mark and Emily, and with some of the other experts that we'll introduce you to at the end of this presentation. It's been about 8 months. And basically, what we had to decide is it wasn't going to happen overnight, and it wasn't going to happen by itself. So Mark talks about the fact that it's a journey, and to basically take one piece, focus on it, get it in place, and then move on to the next. So sometimes we like to have things happen quicker than they do. That's just human nature. What we found helpful is Mark has Marketing Mondays, as you know, one Monday a month. What we decided to do in our firm is to make every Monday a Marketing Monday for our firm. So we'll take 2 or 3 hours every Monday in our firm and say, what's next for a marketing system or a pricing system? What's next? And we chip away at it systematically to the point that we have our system today.
Awesome advice, David. It's one step at a time. But what's amazing is, if anybody thinks 8 months feels like a long time, what you've achieved in that is incredible, and what you now have, and we've still got more to see, I know, today, but once you've got all these foundations in place, this will help you for the rest of your professional life, winning great clients, automating the whole process. The questions are coming in thick and fast, and I'm conscious, David, that you've still got a lot to share. So let me do, we've got 5 more now. I'll do these 5 and then we'll pause. So the next one's a quick one from Suzanne McKay-Dunn. She says, what is your YouTube channel?
Good question. It I don't know the exact, but it has the name Pankiewich in it. I have another computer member of my team that knows these right off the top of his head. I apologize, I don't remember the name of our YouTube channel right off the top of our head.
I'm the same. I couldn't tell you mine, to be honest, and I do a video every week. So, but anyway, Suzanne, you're in the academy, I think. So if you're in the Value Pricing Academy, feel free to put that in the VPA Facebook group, and David can, when he finds out the answer, he can answer that one. Okay. What else have we got? Jean says, is your website on WordPress? And if so, is it recommended?
Yes. So we looked at a few different options for a website. What software, what technique? I know Rocket Spark exists. and there's some others. We decided to use WordPress because it had the level of finesse and detail that we wanted to have for the quality of the website we were looking for. So yes, we're using WordPress. I don't actually do it. You'll get introduced to our web designer later in the program, and he's the one who really knows WordPress. And you'll find at the end of our webinar, if you have other questions about our marketing system, there'll be ways you can reach out to us directly as well. And we'll be happy to answer some of your questions and help you with some of these pieces as well.
Fantastic. Okay, next question is from another awesome accountant, Neil Criddle, who we work with. So you'll know Neil, I guess, David.
Yes.
He says, what's been your most successful change so far? Question mark. I always feel that I've got a crazy amount of things to do and prioritizing is just a nightmare. But Neil, then again, you're doing some amazing things as well. Like I know that you've just, you've over 1,000 people in your Facebook group. So we can't do everything at once, as David said. But anyway, David, the question from Neil is, what's been your most successful change so far?
Most successful change. I would say coming up with our lead magnet and using it to generate leads. As you know, in Mark's system, he teaches see the end from the beginning. So as you know, with Mark teaching Marketing Mondays, you start with the final piece and then you keep adding introductory pieces to it. So that's been our journey. But I think the single most important one has been the ebook. When people see it, we had one person say, I'd be willing to pay for it. And of course, I don't offer it for sale because we started our ebook with some of the excellent content that Mark provides as a template through the Value Pricing Academy. And then we built on it. So it's been a joint project. But individuals have said they'd be willing to pay for that ebook, and we offer it complimentary as a lead magnet. So I would say that's been our most valuable part of our system so far. Okay, awesome. I might skip over the next two questions for now. So Jean and Fran both asked questions about numbers, like what in percentage terms increase in revenue and stuff, but you might get there, you might not. Let's leave that till the end because I'm conscious we've got a lot to cover still. But I will perhaps do a couple of the other ones and then we'll move on. So Elizabeth says, David, keeping in mind that it's taken you 8 months to develop your journey, how did you plan your marketing schedule and how much time do you dedicate daily, weekly, monthly? So I hope I've shared some of that. Perhaps you saw part of your question already answered. So we take every Monday and we spend at least 2 to 3 hours every Monday morning making it a Marketing Monday. And so we chip away. So sometimes it's the whole day on Monday. And so if you take 8 weeks and you take a look at the hours of 2 to 3 on certain weeks, a full day on other weeks, the hours add up. But it's time well spent, as Mark mentions. Now we have a system that's good for life. Yes, we will tweak it. Yes, we will enhance it. Yes, we will change over time. But the framework will be there for life. So we felt it was well worth the investment to systemize and free up time so we now can help these ideal clients.
Great. Question from Rennie Evans, who again you might know from the Value Pricing Academy. Rennie says, and you might have partly answered this, but it's a slightly different question. David, what do you think is the best marketing activity that drives traffic to your website?
Lead magnet, an ebook that has a captivating cover that addresses a need of a small business owner. Using Mark's template, that was our starting point. Because, it's hard to start with a blank sheet of paper to do some of these things. So that's why Marketing Mondays have been so helpful, because Mark gives you a framework, he gives you a workbook, he gives you a starting point, he gives you a template, and then you can roll from there.
Okay, I will do one more question because I think it might be a really quick one. Lavinia says, do you have an opinion on Wix websites?
So I do know of a colleague of mine that uses Wix. So there are pros and cons. Wix is a little bit more do-it-yourself. But in speaking to those that know the different softwares out there. The idea was that WordPress had more sophistication that we would benefit from. But with WordPress, my understanding is you really want to have someone who has that set of knowledge to develop your WordPress. With our computer person, he's shown us how we can go in and make some changes, but we only go so far and then we call him in. So that's WordPress. With Wix, it's supposedly a little bit more user-friendly, where you can learn with a shorter learning curve and develop it, but it has some limitations compared to what WordPress can do. So we were looking at our website with the long-range view, and so we went with WordPress with someone that's excellent and is part of our team.
Okay, questions keep coming in, David, but maybe you answer some of them during the presentation, and I know you've got more to share. So let's pause on the questions now, and we can come back to some more later on.
Okay, very good. So you can see where we are in the marketing system. We've covered strategy, how to drive traffic to your lead generation system. So now we're going to get into the lead generation system itself. And we've kind of touched on some of the pieces so far with some of your questions and in some of the earlier parts of the marketing system. So as we mentioned, the ebook we found has been vital. So Mark provided us with a template. We then took that template and added content. So I've always wanted to write an ebook. So Mark helped me to become an author. He gave me the opportunity to use his framework and his initial template and content. And then we were able to add a lot of other content to it to make our ebook our own. So it's about 35 pages. This gives you a glimpse. Feel free to download our ebook off our website to get an example. And we'll introduce you to the graphic designer in a little while, who helped us put all of this together. And Mark's ebook had this template, how to grow your business successfully without any complicated marketing. Then we added our own stuff to it. We added 5 key steps. You'll see in our ebook how we have 5 different main headings in it and chapters that deal with those 5 main headings. Then we called it an entrepreneur's guide. We personalized it, we branded it. So this is important because if you're going to have a lead generation system, you need to have something that will attract individuals to generate a lead. So the ebook was our starting point. And this is our lead generation system. And all of this lead generation system, from the 3 different pages you see here, was all developed in an offer that Mark made to Value Pricing Academy members. And we worked closely with Emily, who was the project manager, and Steve Baldwin, who was the graphic designer. And we worked together as a 3-member team, and we customized the landing page for requesting the ebook. That's picture 1. When the individual requests the ebook, they provide their name and email address in picture 2. They complete a form, and we use Typeform. That's a software that Emily suggested. So we added that to our tech stack. When they provide their name and email address, that takes them to, we call this a double opt-in that Mark teaches, a double opt-in. So they download the ebook. And when they download the ebook, the name and email address of the contact of the lead automatically gets added to MailChimp. So now we have a way of capturing that information, using it for future marketing. And then, as one of the other big 3, as we talked about earlier, we bring in Karbon. So whenever the name and email address is added to MailChimp, that same information is added to Karbon, because Karbon is what we call our single source of truth, our CRM, our contact manager for leads, prospects, and clients. So this is our lead generation system that we developed with Emily from the Value Pricing Academy. So once you have the lead now in your system, i.e. in MailChimp, now what are you going to do? So that's part 4, onboarding a prospect. You've had someone that's been attracted by your lead magnet. They've exchanged your name and email address for that lead magnet. Now, how are you going to take that slightly warm lead and continue to warm it? So again, this was another part of the system that Emily worked with us on, the onboarding of prospects. So you can see the pieces. There's a welcome email that they get after they've downloaded the ebook. Then there's an onboarding email delivery system that's automated, referred to as autoresponders or nurturing emails. So let's take a look at that system. So Emily provided through Mark's Academy some email templates. Again, we took them, we customized them basically to brand them and to provide content that we were comfortable with using to warm the prospect. So you can see here, there's a welcome email, and then we have 2 others. I believe they're sent out 2 or 3 days after the welcome email, and then 7 days after the welcome email is a schedule to warm up the prospect, the lead. And so on these autoresponders, we'll talk to them about that ebook that they've downloaded. We'll talk to them about the webinars that we're running. We'll invite them to register for them so they can start continuing to consume content and see us as an expert that can help them and answer the questions live during those webinars. We also invite them to join our Facebook group that just was recently officially launched. And so that's what we're trying to do with these emails, is nurture them, warm them, and periodically on these emails, we're inviting them to take the next step on the journey, which is to book a complimentary or free discovery call. So that's the whole purpose of these autoresponders, is to help the lead take the next step and want to reach out to us and have a meeting with us. So that's our onboarding prospects piece of our system. And then the other piece that Emily worked with us on was our appointment generation system. So you can see the different pieces that are here. There's a landing page. There's an application page. We'll go through these. There's an assessment that we then make. Then there's a booking page. And then there's a way of managing the expectations of that prospect, and then scheduling them through Calendly for their first meeting. So let's take a look at some of the pieces of that part of our marketing system. So we have the landing page, again, developed by Emily and graphically designed by Stephen Baldwin. Would you like me to help you? Appealing. We customize it with the look of our firm. We invite them then to fill in an application. Why an application? Because we can't work with everyone, and not everyone would necessarily be a good fit for our firm. So we're trying to qualify them. We're trying to pre-qualify them before we actually have a meeting with them. So we'll ask them some basic questions, try to get some background information, find a little bit about what their challenges are. It's not a complicated form, but we use Typeform. It was suggested by Emily, and we love it because it's a very interactive one. It doesn't give you a whole long list of questions like you think you're filling in a survey, but it's interactive, one question at a time, with a nice user interface. And in about 10 minutes, they complete this brief introductory comments about their firm and their needs, their industry, their size. And then we also have 3 videos as part of this process. So we filmed them. It was one of our first forays into doing videos, but we did them. You have to take the leap. You have to do sometimes what's not comfortable. And we took the leap and we did these 3 videos. Emily provided some of the content as to what could be said in these 3 videos. We then customized it so that it came across as our own. Those 3 videos then got uploaded, and we have those 3 videos on different pages of this appointment generation system. One on the landing page, one on the application page, explaining why we have an application. And then we also have one on the booking page, explaining what that first meeting will be about. So as part of this process, once the prospect fills in that type form, then here's the human aspect. So that application comes into our system. We're notified that there's been a completed questionnaire done in type form. Then we assess it. We take a look at the answers that that prospect has provided, and we see if we would like to take the next step. And then we have 2 emails, a yes email that we think that we're the right fit, and we encourage them to book a meeting with us. Or if we see perhaps they're just too large for us, or maybe they're just not the right place in their business. So if they're not the right fit, then we also have another email where we suggest other ways that they might be able to get assistance. So it allows us to qualify those that we meet with. So that's a human part of this system. Then as part of the yes email, that yes, you're a good fit, we'd love to work with you, we take them to the booking page where there's a video letting them know, congratulations, we think you would be wonderful to work with. Here are the next steps. It connects them to book a meeting on Calendly. And in our particular system, through this process, we do ask for a small fee to be paid up front for booking that Calendly call. And the arrangement is this: it is a fully refundable deposit. That way, the individual is just not filling up our time throughout the day, but is going to keep their appointment. As long as they keep their appointment, if they feel they don't want to take the journey any further, they get their deposit fully refunded. But if they're going to have that meeting, they want to work with us, what we do is we take that deposit and we apply it to the profit diagnostic review that we then do as the next meeting. They've already paid for that profit diagnostic review. We take that deposit, apply it to the next meeting we have with them. So that's the arrangement that we have in place currently for this auto lead generation, appointment generation system. And then they book the meeting using Calendly, very nicely goes into our Microsoft Outlook. The client's notified, we're notified, and we can prepare for our first meeting, as you see here, ideally in person, but now, as we know, lots on Zoom, and Zoom works very well. So that's our appointment generation system that kind of brings us to the end of our first part of our webinar with your 5 major components to the marketing system we have in place. So maybe, Mark, here might be another place to ask for some questions before we move on to the pricing system.
Absolutely. I'm conscious we've got so many questions, and I know you've got a lot to still talk about with 2 other pieces of software as well. So I'm not going to go through all 14 that I've got in the inbox here. I'll pick up a handful and then we'll pick up the rest of the questions at the end. But a few that have just jumped out, and perhaps some quick ones, is she's no longer anonymous. It's Suzanne says, how many on your team for your Marketing Mondays?
There's myself, there's my wife, and there's our computer guru that works with us. Just the 3 of us.
Yeah.
So it's similar to Mark's team. There's just 3 in the Value Pricing Academy, and with systems, he's able to do a lot. We wanted to kind of resemble Mark's philosophy. And so it's the 3 of us designing the system.
Awesome. Okay. Kim's question. Kim Lafayette says, how many people have you needed? And I think you've kind of answered this, but just to be clear, Kim says, how many people have you needed to assist with your framework in total, i.e. web designer, content writer, social media expert, etc.?
So we have, we'll introduce them to you soon, but we have Jordan Duda, who's all things computer, workflow setups, software connections, website maintenance, website design. And if you want help, Jordan has said, reach out to us and we can connect you with Jordan if that's what you'd like. We also have Steve Baldwin, who does the graphic design for some of the things that you will see, including this PowerPoint, including our ebook. Steve Baldwin is a fabulous person to work with. And Mark, of course, knows and suggested him, and we have found him to live up to Mark's recommendation. So he's been great to help us with that. So those are two people. And then we have a content marketer who on a very part-time basis will do our social media posting for us. And that's it.
Okay, awesome. Mindy Morrison says, how much is the fee to book that meeting?
So we decided on 197 plus HST. That's the number that we have with the experience, the expertise that we're going to use in helping clients during that session.
Okay. Richard Moule says, what are the differences between a discovery call or consultation session?
So there's two different.
I can chip in if it helps, but go on.
Yeah, there's two different ways that people can reach out to us. They can reach out to us for a 15-minute discovery call that's shown on our website. But what we find is that type form questionnaire kind of takes the place of that brief 15-minute discovery call. We're able to find out from the questions we ask the guts of what we'd like to know about a prospect to see if we want to have that full discovery call. So hope that answers your question.
Okay, and for those of you in the academy, I'm working on a brand new piece of training and resource. It's a huge resource where I will walk you through how to price a brand new client, and we'll look at different ways of doing it, discovery calls, initial meetings, and so on. Then you can pick the path that works best for you. A couple more questions I think we'll do, and then we'll move on. Martina Doyle says, great system, but do you find you are still gaining clients via traditional organic route, word of mouth, referral, as I would imagine some clients still like to pick up the phone directly?
Absolutely. So we're trying to follow the philosophy that all roads lead to Rome. So we're happy to do the organic ones. We're happy to do the traditional phone calling. What we're trying to do is we're trying to automate the process to leverage our time so that people that like to do the searching on social media can find us, reach out to us, and connect with us.
Okay. David Colts, who's also in the academy from Houston, says, I see the ideal client profiling is listed in the first step. And then in the fifth step group, you have an application where you profile again. Can you clarify the difference in use? And I think I know where the confusion is, but if you want to answer that, or if I'll leave it with you.
So our ideal client profiling, David, is where we're determining who are we trying to attract through our overall system. When an individual downloads the ebook, we don't know necessarily whether they're a good fit for us. It could be someone who simply likes the content of that ebook and goes no further. So we use the ideal client profile at the very beginning to drive our overall marketing strategy, all pieces. But then before we have our phone call, we try to ensure that the person that wants to connect with us is indeed that ideal client profile by asking questions in that questionnaire.
Hope it makes sense, David. The first bit is your strategy, your thinking and being clear on your ideal client, and then that helps you to build your profiling system. But if you've got any more questions, David, you can ask me on Marketing Monday. We can spend some more time on that next Monday. I'll just address one more question because it's one that keeps coming up. Matteo, I don't know if you're still here or had to go now, but says he'd love a link to the recording, and a few people said the same thing. We are recording it. We don't know what we're going to do with the recording at this stage. We're making it available to Value Pricing Academy members for sure, but we'll probably put it in my main Facebook group as well. And I put a link in the chat box earlier so that you can make sure you're in that, and then we'll put the recording there perhaps tomorrow. So I'll put the link again later on. So Matteo, if you're here, you'll have heard that, and if you're not, you'll have missed that. Okay, more questions, but let's do them at the end because I know you've got so much. So back to you, David.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Mark. So let's now talk about your pricing system. In our journey now, we have confirmed, scheduled, booked our first meeting with a client. So that's where our pricing system starts. And this is where we return to Karbon. So you notice, remember, Karbon was used to put in our initial prospect's name and email address. Well, once they have actually booked that meeting in Calendly, we know we have a solid connection. We're going to have an appointment. We are going to have a conversation. We need to have, again, thinking of that phrase, systemize everything, a way to systemize our approach with that prospect. So we looked at different workflow software. We're looking to grow and expand, working with other independent professional bookkeepers. So we wanted something that would not have a size limitation to it. There are other software that work for smaller firms, but we found Karbon had a lot of features that really resonated with us. So Karbon had a lead to sale workflow template that we used as our starting point. And then Mark teaches how to have a scheduled 2-meeting framework. And we're going to walk you through how we do that in a systemized way. So this is an introduction to the first workflow that we use in Karbon. So you can see, so the name of this prospect for the purposes of our webinar is called Canadian Vintage Cars, Inc. Okay, so that's the name of our flagship client that wants help with the business advisory services. So we use this whether it was a phone call or whether it was that booked Calendly scheduled first meeting. This workflow we're able to use, and you notice there's the first part is a lead introduction. Did it come in from a 50-minute discovery call, or did it come in from our online questionnaire that we've just been talking about? Okay. Then there's prospect meeting 1, okay, with a script to it. And so, as Mark teaches, there are key questions to ask. And so we have put these 4 types of questions into our scripting here. So we have the Zoom on one monitor, and we have this Karbon workflow open on another monitor with these questions. Some of them were designed by Karbon, and the flow of a lot of the other questions were designed by Mark through the Value Pricing Academy, and we married them together. So we have a meeting agenda script. Mark talks a lot about pain points. So we have ways of talking about each one of these problem questions. And you'll see a little bit more about what this workflow is all about. So for example, as Mark talks, he talks about background questions, problem questions, consequence questions, and outcome questions. And what's really nice about this software is you can constantly improve your system. So you'll know recently, Mark did a session about how to talk with your ideal client, a new client. From that webinar until today, we took those questions, that content, and put them right into our template. So that the Canadian Vintage Cars Inc. prospect, if we were to have that meeting today, we could use those series of questions that Mark provides right in here as a script for us to follow. And then for the pain point, key questions. How are you managing this today? What is your tech stack? What works? How much time are you spending? What would you be able to do if you weren't doing this? And so on. Of course, Mark's system goes much deeper into this, but this gives you a flavor of how we're able to standardize and systemize that process with the prospect. Meeting 2. Okay, so meeting 1 is the fact find. Why are they coming to see us? What are their needs? What are their dreams? What are their objectives? What are they hoping to achieve? What are their struggles? What do they need help with? And so we're not talking about price. We're not talking about specific services. We're there to listen. And we use our questions to stimulate the prospect, then giving us what we need, which is the gold to understand how we can help that client. So meeting 1 ends with a definite schedule of when we're going to have meeting 2. Meeting 2 is where we're going to now provide the solution. Mark suggests within a week, have meeting 2 to build the momentum for meeting 1. In meeting 2, we have a script, the different things we want to talk about. And we're going to talk now with you about the tools we use to accomplish these tasks of meeting 2. And how we discuss our proposed solution, agreeing with the price. So we're going to walk you through that. So meeting 2, we know what we want to present to the client, give them choices. So let's take a look at what we use as part of the meeting 2 process. So if you're part of Value Pricing Academy, you know all about Mark's excellent brochures, 1 brochure per service. We have a number of them. So in this classic scenario, we're talking about a prospect wanting business advisory. So we're going to walk through that particular brochure a little. So again, this is a brochure that was color schemed and branded by Stephen Baldwin, using the content that Mark provides. Grow your business profitably with real-time management reporting and financial modeling. So we use this, as Mark refers to, as an aide-memoire. We use it as a guide. And, in a real meeting, we would flip through it. In a Zoom meeting, we can show it on the screen, share a screen, and show different aspects of this. And without taking a deep dive into this brochure, you can see that the purpose of this brochure is to build up the value of what we are then going to reveal as their price options. So this brochure really builds up the value, helps them to understand what's in each of 3 packages. As you know, Mark teaches the menu pricing system, 3 packages, give the client choice. So we do that. And this brochure, as you can see, is several pages. It continues to build up the value. And at the end of this review of the brochure, you saw maybe briefly there were 3 columns with the 3 different packages. We find out from the client what they feel is the package that's most appropriate for them. So they've made that mental commitment. They've expressed it to us. And so we say, that's great. Of course, the next question is, how much is it going to cost? So that's our cue. And we open up Mark's software, Effective Pricing. Okay, and without taking a deep dive into the software, it very systematically provides you with pricing models for every type of discrete service you would have in your firm. There's a long list here. We're talking about just the business advisory one today. So there's a beautiful way into entering the client's name, you go through questions, background questions, scope questions. For example, how often do they want these business advisory meetings? How do they want to meet? How often do they want management reports? All of these settings can be set up in Mark software. Other things that they might want us to do. Who they want in our firm to serve them. Okay, and as you can see on the left-hand part of the slide, 3 packages appear with different features or benefits rather in each one of those packages. Again, the client can indicate which one they can reiterate or reemphasize which package they would like. You then are able to, depending on the needs, there are behavioral rewards, ways of adjusting. The value of the software is you can continue to change the package until the client says, that's the price for me with the value I'm looking for. And so this software then results in, at the end of the day, a price that they've agreed on. You can see here, we've shown an option weekly of 52 payments of $177 a week for this particular package of services. And this is where the effective pricing helps the client see the amount they're going to pay and the dates, the scheduling of payments, so they understand the monthly or the weekly recurring payment cycle that they'll be on. They're comfortable with that. This is an internal document. We use this internally. We have a better client-facing one. So Mark has this as a way for you as a firm owner to be able to track what exactly were all the answers to all the questions and the payment terms, all the details of what happened in the meeting. And so this is a very handy synopsis of what the client has agreed to in the meeting. And here it just shows you a little clearer, all the questions, everything that they answered in the software, you now have a permanent historical record of it. That's where the quoting part of effective pricing basically concludes. You've completed this quote. So how does the journey continue? So something that was suggested to us is effective pricing, and we're going to talk about how it works well with practice ignition in a moment. It's ideal to have the client make a commitment during that meeting number 2. You've gone through the brochure, you've gone through the effective pricing, they've said yes. It would be nice to have some way for them to sign on the dotted line, at least make a mental commitment to it while we're in the meeting. So we have customized this form. We call it an approval to proceed. We can set this up ahead of time. Doesn't take much to fill it in. We typically have an idea as to what package of service we're going to be talking about in that meeting. There's a place for their name, which we know in advance. The date of the meeting, we know that in advance. So we can have that ready. And we send it to them during the meeting. And all they have to do is provide their electronic signature here. Here, the president of Canadian Vintage Cars Inc. is Alan Royce. He puts his John Henry in the signed line, sends that back to us during the meeting. And you can see what the purpose of this approval to proceed is. Following our meeting and review, I would like to proceed. So they're making a commitment, but it says that they were requesting formal terms of engagement from you. So this makes the commitment, and it gives you an incentive to then now put the full proposal package to send to them. So that's where we go back into the software. So we hang up the phone, we end the Zoom call, we let them know that within the hour, and you'll see you might even be able to do it in much less time than that with what we're going to show you. You then can send a fully professional looking proposal to the client. So we go back into effective pricing after we finish meeting number 2. And now we create a client-facing part of the effective pricing fixed price agreement. And it's very easy to complete. All of the answers that the client gave in that meeting get populated into what we call a fixed price agreement. We've branded it with our own firm. Well, we have made the look and feel tie in with our website. And this becomes a finished fixed price agreement for the prospect. It was that quick to complete because all the information effective pricing already has from that meeting you just had with the client. Here's a look of what that finished PDF fixed price agreement looks like. Again, branded. You can customize it with pictures. And this fixed price agreement basically confirms the payment amount and the recurring of that amount. And then it makes it very clear the scope of work, which is the value of fixed price agreement to avoid scope creep. So we've added our own pictures, our own branding to this template that Mark's software now has. And then in the appendices, it shows the client, this is how you answered. This is what we've agreed to do to limit scope creep. Also to help build up the value of all these things they're going to be getting, additional services, special arrangements. That is the PDF, that is the finished product out of effective pricing. But we haven't yet talked about how the client now signs with their banking information. So that's next. We take this fixed price agreement in effective pricing and we move over into one of the other big three, practice ignition. So in practice ignition, this is where we put those two products together, effective pricing and practice ignition. Let us show you how we do that. In practice ignition, you set up the client name. You set up the service as a template. And here you can see we have business advisory services, essential, full, premium, the traditional bronze, silver, gold type of categories of packages. Other features as to when the proposal will start and end. You're able to determine whether you want this to be an ongoing service. Will the business advisory service just keep on going year after year until the client says that's all they need? You can set it up for continue recurring. You can set it up for monthly or weekly. We're giving you the example of what weekly might look like. There's lots of features to the software that we find very helpful. We're just giving you a glimpse. Okay. You can enable pro rata. So if you have some compliance work and you want to help them catch up their monthly payments so that by the end of the year, they've made the equivalent of 12 monthly payments by the time their year end comes up for completion, you can enable a pro rata feature, which we have found very helpful. And the software does it instantly for you if you select that feature. Here you can see also the proposal clearly indicating the amount, the proposal template, the description of the invoice. And so this is how we reference the fixed price agreement. In the template for the invoice, we mention some basic highlights, and then we say, please review your fixed price agreement for a complete description of services included in this package. And you'll see how they see that, how the client sees that in a moment. So that's how we're constantly referring from one document to the other. This is where you put the two together. Practice Ignition has a feature where you can create, and Practice Ignition will do this for you. They will do a generic brochure about your business. Very handy feature. We decided to replace that generic brochure, the placeholder for it, and slide in Mark's fixed price agreement from effective pricing into that same slot. That generic brochure we might send to the client ahead of our first discovery call. The reason we need this is we need a place so that when the client gets the practice ignition proposal, they also receive the fixed price agreement at the same time and see them both in real time. So we use this brochure placeholder to insert that PDF of that fixed price agreement that we just generated from Effective Pricing. And you can see it here, the proposal for Canadian Vintage Cars Inc., Effective Pricing. Payment terms, credit card or PAD, and then this is the finished result. This is what the client sees. They get an email from Practice Ignition, fixed price agreement on the left side, and as you're going to see, the PI process on the right side. And this is exactly what the client sees. So you see step one at the bottom. This is the summary. They can click through the PDF, remind themselves of what they agreed to. Then they see the payment amounts. Here's where they add their payment information, bank account or credit card. This is where it's personalized. They tick the box, I accept. They e-signature it, and the proposal is good to go. We think that's a very slick process using those two software together. Then from Practice Ignition, you can connect that particular invoice and the collection of the money that Practice Ignition does to have it posted in QuickBooks, for example, to the exact revenue account you would like, all automatically. What a time saver. And then the last of the big three is Karbon, which is where we connect through Practice Ignition the work templates that we're going to need to do the advisory work that the client just signed a proposal for. So let's take a look then at this work template, and then we'll take some final questions, time permitting. So the business advisory workflow, we already talked about the lead to sale process. There are two other templates in Karbon: the initial setup for advisory work and the ongoing advisory work. And so without going through all the tasks, Karbon has a fabulous way of sequencing the tasks, planning, modeling, building the first month of advisory and the ongoing advisory work. And these are work items that can be set up and assigned to every client that has accepted that service.
Wow, that was extraordinary. David is one of my star students. He's been in the Value Pricing Academy for some time now. You can see he just implements stuff and makes it happen. If you want to find out more, I'm going to put some links underneath that you can go and check out. And hopefully one day I'll get to work with you in the Academy to help you get these sorts of results. In the meantime, please feel free to like the video, give it the thumbs up, hit that subscribe button as well. You'll need to hit the little bell and you'll get notifications of as I create brand new videos. Anyway, see you soon. Bye for now.